Hi folks, you're with Tacitus today, your pushback channel, and thank you for joining this audio live stream. Now, a little while ago I had sort of two separate cocktails and sort of finger food type, canapes and hors d'oeuvres, whatever, get-togethers, and I was one of the very few people in the room who was not a lawyer. And one of them, at least, nearly all the lawyers were like divorce lawyers. As is the case here, people have a couple of drinks and they're with a lot of people they know and they start talking shop. And one of the benefits of lawyers getting together is they talk shop in front of you, but the secondary benefit is that because you're not a lawyer, they view you as just far too stupid to follow anything they're saying. And so you can sort of stand there, and as they were, talking shop, I was avidly listening, and every now and again could ask a sort of a simple, benign question. Fortunately, they always construed the question as being the question of a simpleton. So they would then explain it to me as you would explain it to, I don't know, a dog or something. They would give me sort of fairly explicit views on certain subjects of which I'd asked a question. So it was a great place to gather information on the insanity of how progressive lawyers have become, particularly in things the more ideological the court, like the divorce courts, the more they're disposed to this so-called progressive way of thinking. So I just wanted to talk a little bit about that and give an idea of how they view, restorative justice, and by stealing a straight white man's money in particular, to give to the woman, or to steal money from a man to give to his daughter. Sons are much less, unless they're handicapped or something, but sons are much less sort of concerned about them. But the interesting thing here is the amount of decisions that are made that are not codified in any law, that they don't exist legally. So they're making decisions completely outside of any legal framework. And this, of course, means that they even if they were doing it initially for the best of reasons, it's been completely hijacked by ideological concerns and people who are screaming ideological fanatics. On top of that, the bar for getting into law has been lowered and lowered again, and then lowered some more. And there's a lot of affirmative action lawyers getting appointed. So you've got a very heavy tail of low IQ people. And when you ever have low IQ people in these sort of scenarios, invariably ideology replaces what would have been intellect or brain power or reasoning power, analysis of facts, comprehending complexity. Then ideology replaces all that. So they don't need to comprehend complexity. They just need to be driven by the ideology. The ideology is, straight white man bad, everyone else victim, and they have this very, very pronounced attitude about restorative justice, where as straight white men have oppressed everyone else for centuries upon centuries, then stealing from the straight white male today, a man who's committed no crime and done nothing wrong, and giving it to somebody from giving that money they steal from the straight white male to someone from the victim class, even if the victim class has done a lot of things wrong, has broken the law, that's not the issue. The issue is restorative justice, and by stealing an innocent person's money and giving that money to a guilty person in the minority group, then that still is justice, and that still is restorative justice. That's compensatory justice. And these views are widespread. Now, it's not that I haven't heard them before, not that I haven't commented on some of them before in other videos. I have, but I just wanted to sort of give listeners a refresher to just how fucking bad things are, and how many decisions are being made along these lines that are existing outside of any codified law. You can look at this in divorce courts, but also in something, say, January 6th. We have the right to rig elections, and if you dare defy us, we will crush you. That sort of attitude is also weaved into this restorative justice. So if you're the straight white male that disagrees with having hey, I'm not a criminal. Why are you stealing all my money? If you disagree with that, then then you're defying them. If you're defying them, then you must be crushed, double crushed, and all the resources of the state are available to them to go and crush you. So that also needs to be kept in mind as I talk about these things. Now, they were talking about, this is different conversations from different lawyers, but they were talking about a woman who was unattractive and a nutcase. Now, the way they did, they were able to understand that there was a man who'd been a bit of a sort of a gallant, had a gallant sort of view of things. So, his worth in life was by picking up this, or marrying, I don't know if they married or de facto or whatever, but getting together with this woman who was, no man would want her. And so he was going to get together with this woman and give her a life she never could have had. And, he was kind of a hardworking guy and everything, and, very sober in his habits. And so he tried to sort of, raise her up, as it were, and it didn't work. So she was claiming, compensation. Now, on what basis was she claiming compensation? Well, because he had a high income and he was a hard worker and he was careful with his money, and therefore this makes him a target, and he has to compensate her because he's better off or something. But the argument they went saying, well, look, this woman's was very lucky to come across that guy. Normally women like that end up with penniless, jobless guys that, don't work, refuse to work, and make a bit of money on the side, drug dealing or something. But, they'd end up with men like that. But she was lucky enough to somehow end up with this guy who treated her well, and again, worked hard, and And so, given that she's probably never going to find another man at all, let alone a man who's got a steady job and good income, then the guy she's with or was recently with, he must be screwed absolutely to the floor to get as much money out of him as they can. Really gouge him, because she's never going to have another guy, or her likelihood of getting another guy with any money is about zip. This is in the lawyer's view. Therefore, they must sort of double screw this poor unfortunate guy. Now, he's committed no crime. He's done nothing wrong. He's done, he's been a model citizen, hardworking, paying his taxes. He doesn't gamble or something like that. So, but the sole reason he's being screwed and double screwed is only because this woman isn't going to find another man, in their view, that she's unattractive. And now they accept she's a nutcase. They accept she's the cause of them breaking up. They accept that she's behaved badly. They accept that she's done bad things. They're not even bothering to dispute this in the conversation. They're saying she is entitled to restorative justice through generous compensation, and they're going to steal from someone who's done nothing wrong, committed no crime. He just happens to be a straight white male with a decent job who works hard. That's his crime. That's it. So this goes to the idea of the wealth transfer and so on, but that they would think about it any other way is no. He's a straight white male. He's got a good job. She hasn't got a good job. She's never going to get a good job. She's too stupid. She's never going to find another man because she's too crazy and unattractive. So why shouldn't we screw this guy? Why not? Why not? It's justice. It's social justice. And if you've got a problem with that, you damn fucking Nazi. So that was the attitude there. Now they talked about other things where, and I've come across a number of these cases where the daughter, the guy divorced when the kids are like 2 years old or something. Then the daughter grows up, she's 18, decides that she doesn't want to go to university and she's going to go and get a job. Come 21 years old, she decides, actually she does want to go to university, and she wants to study some bullshit sociology course. And she's a bit worried about the debt and the fees, and not a problem, says the legal aid lawyer in the university. the university where the university information section, if you like, you go to. Your biological father, even though you haven't seen him for 18 years and he divorced your mother 18 years ago, that's not a problem. He's your biological father. And if he's got a decent job and a decent income, we'll steal his money to give to you so you can do your studies, and maybe he'll pay for all of it if his income's good enough. So it's solely based not on liability, not on criminality, not on obligation, not on any. It's just arbitrarily decided ideologically that, hey, you want nothing to do with this guy. You've never seen him or haven't seen him since you're 3, so on. But we've checked up, and he's actually got quite a good job. He's never been unemployed. He owns a house and so on. So we'll just steal his money. If he decides to defy us in court, we'll just hit him with costs and all sorts of other things equivalent to a fine for daring to defy, and screw him to the thing, and so he'll pay, and we'll get a psychological evaluation to say that he's really a Nazi fascist oppressor, wife beating, child abusing, we'll give him the full 9 yards here, and both barrels and everything, and he'll soon work out that he better not defy us or else. So these sort of conversations were going on, and again, none of this is codified in law. This is all ideological insanity, and these people are running riot through not only divorce courts but all sorts of different courts. January 6th courts as an example, and rape courts. I mean, the list just goes on. It's insane. Anything that has race, gender, or sexuality, like trans or something, has in it, that's the activists flock to that like flies to shit, and also ideology prevails. Codified law may as well not exist at all. I mean, it barely. I mean, if the evidence neatly suits the codified law, then they'll use it because it suits the position they've already decided to take. But if it doesn't, then they wouldn't piss on codified law or the rules of evidence or anything like that, being a legal procedure. They'll just make it up as they go along because they're driven by ideology and the determination for an ideological or pursuing an ideological outcome. Now, the reverse is also interesting, that they were talking about a woman who had a child, but they all described as she was stunningly good looking. I don't know, I've never seen a picture of her. She was stunningly good looking, and the consensus among the lawyers was she will have men groveling at her feet, and there'll be no end of men who are interested in her. And she hangs out in a social circle of fairly wealthy men, so she'll have no trouble landing a rich man. I think she was like a former beauty queen or something like that. So they were saying, even though her husband ex-husband now, apparently was quite well to do. He's like quite a wealthy socialite and all that sort of stuff. They were saying, well, we don't really need to hit him up for too much money, okay, he's got 5 mansions, and if she gets one, that's fine. So they're not even going for 50% or anything like that. If she gets 30% or a quarter, that's more than plenty, because she will easily find another wealthy man to pay her bills and pay for her shopping trips to Paris and all that sort of. She'll have no trouble getting that, and so we don't need to worry about her financially. And she's also apparently very sweet and nice and well behaved, and so on and so forth. So based on her remarriageability and the sort of crowd that she runs with, they're determining how much they should screw the ex-husband for. Now, turns out the ex-husband is quite wealthy, like he's worth gazillions. So they'll just drag a few million out of him, quite a small proportion of his wealth, really, and give it to her as a gift. But if they're so confident she's going to marry into wealth, or have attract men who are wealthy and will shower her in financial gifts and so on. She'll be financially secure. They don't have to worry. But they're not worrying about it. They're treating the ex-husband with kid gloves, even though he's a rich man and he can afford to give her half of the gazillions without really bothering about it, given his wealth. Now, the guy who married or got together with that crazy, ugly woman, his life is now cursed forever. They're going to hit him up for 3/4 plus of the wealth. Now, because they're hitting him up for so much, according to the lawyers, he's opposing it. Why are they taking so much from me? Now, they don't tell him, hey, buddy, the reason we're screwing because your ex-wife is so fucking stupid and ugly. They don't say that. They pretend he's they create this bullshit scenario that he's a Nazi oppressor and he's evil and he's bad and he's a wife basher and he's a this and a that and a so and so, a rapist. So that they concoct this insane, ridiculous, ideological sort of caricature type story around the guy in order to justify stealing all his money. But the reason they're stealing his money isn't because he's a bad guy or did bad things. They've had to invent and manufacture and falsely claim all that. The reason they're screwing him over is because he's got the ugly and stupid wife. That's it. Whereas the other, and he's not a rich man though. He's worth. I suppose he'd be middle class type wealth, but he didn't inherit wealth or something. Like he's just an ordinary guy. But they're going to screw him royally and demand that he pays alimony and all sorts of shit going forward. He's fucked. I mean, he is fucked. He might as well find a tall building. I mean, he is only going to exist as a unit of payment into the ideological fund, if you like. His life is over. He'll never own anything again. Now, if you look at the stunningly good-looking woman who married to the rich guy, they're almost not concerned about her. No, she'll be fine. And they see, and not seem, they do. They assess each case as, in the case of the woman, is she marriageable material? Is she particularly pleasant or nice or kind or good looking or sexy or so they assess, will she remarry with ease? Will she is she likely to ever remarry? Is the sort of person she's gonna get together with is going to be the unemployed bum on Skid Row or something? Like they make these assessments without any criteria that the litigants are aware of. There's no framework for it that says, hey, buddy, your wife's not marriageable, or your ex-wife's not marriageable. She's a fucking screaming nutcase. So we're going to have to actually hit you up for double the normal amount, and we'll have to falsely accuse you of being a Nazi as well. Sorry, buddy, that's just how the ideology goes. So again, none of this exists in framework of law. It's all fucking ideological, and all along the lines of restorative justice. That not only should someone who's ugly and a woman who's ugly and stupid and unmarriageable be looked after, but that women are the oppressed class and should have additional compensation added in for their victim Olympics, victim status. But who's going to pay all this? The government? No. That guy who's committed no crime is guilty of nothing. Just by the mere fact he has an association with that woman, he has to pay, and we will make him pay. And if he defies us, we will crush him. So these are the conversations that go around. Now, I very gently, because I didn't want them to stop talking or sort of clam up when I came near or something. But I was sort of, well, why doesn't that sort of corrupt the very legal processes you guys are sworn to be upholding? A lawyer is sworn to uphold because due legal process, rules of evidence, facts, and these sort of things aren't being applied. Well, the restorative justice, social justice, and these people are taught these things in law school now. They're taught to look at the law not as a codified process of administering justice and examining facts and weighing evidence. It's not that anymore. It's really a way of, again, making sure minority groups are compensated for past injustices going back centuries, going back 1,000 years, more than 1,000 years. And this is sort of, you know, and wherever you see race and gender and that sort of stuff, there you see the same argument being waved around. But I don't know if there was any lawyer there that wasn't talking in that sort of a globalist, agitator type talking points about this restorative justice thing, and the idea of evidence and facts and so on was viewed as being arcane, if not atavistic altogether. And that sort of took me a bit by surprise there, just how dismissive they were. Facts, evidence, you got to be kidding. Who gives a fuck about that? And they're even going further to suggest that facts and evidence would actually get in the way of doing this restorative justice thing. And because if they had to have to really sort of follow the facts and the evidence, that would be to the disadvantage of the minority groups. And because it was would be to the disadvantage of the minority groups, they thought they'd dispense of it. We'll dispense of that altogether for ideological reasons, and then let's get the ideological outcomes we want. So that was the rationale they applied. There's also a few cases where say a guy was self-employed, maybe, I mean, it could be have a successful plumbing or I don't know, carpentry business, or be an electrician or something like that, and so it's difficult. It's very difficult, apparently, to pursue these guys for child support and alimony. So they're talking about a case where the guy has given quite a nice house. He's got a successful. I think he was a plumber in this case, but he's got a successful business, and he gave the ex-wife a nice house, fully furnished, and a car. But the agreement was he then wouldn't have to pay alimony and child support, but he would pay the school fees. So that was the deal. I think he had agreed to pay for, say, children's school excursions and so on. Anyway, that was it. Now, the woman had decided that really she couldn't be bothered working. It was all too hard, and so she goes to claim government benefits. They say you can't get benefits because you can't claim benefits for the children. We have to get your ex-husband on child support. So the guy quite reasonably goes and of course, look, I've got a signed agreement here. I've given her a free house and free this, that, and the next thing, plus a bunch of cash. And so the judge says, don't care. The needs of the children, it's for the children. It's the children. And if you disagree with that, you're Hitler. And so they just swing into the ideological sort of seat on this, and so they went after the guy for child support and alimony. And again, this is completely justified. He's got a successful business. Why shouldn't he pay? Why not? But he's given her a free house, and they have a signed agreement saying that she would go to work if she got the free house and wouldn't claim child support. But that was yesterday. Who cares? He's got a successful business. He's only, and he doesn't want to pay because he's a Nazi. And sure. So here we've got again an ideological situation where the facts, the evidence, the signed agreements, none of this matters. They can just invoke it's for the children, and it's to protect women, it's to stop Nazis, and they can just, it's to stop anti-Semitism. They can just invoke any of this, and that allows them to act ideologically and with impunity. So, but they were coming to the discussion of how difficult it is to get a guy whose income, because if you work for a company, they can just go to the company and say, you got to give us this guy's salary, or you got to give us a proportion of his salary, whatever they can just go directly out and heavy the company. Nearly every company will roll over on that one. But this plumbing guy, I think it was plumbing guy, this plumber guy, he doesn't work for somebody; it's his own business. So now they've got some restrictions on what they can impose on the business because they can't interfere with the business's ability to meet its debts. So that's probably the only line they won't cross there. But they do assessments. They say, well, the business makes, in round numbers here, the business makes $100 a week. The costs in the business are say $50, so you've got to pay $25 a week to your ex-wife. Now, this plumber apparently said, well, why doesn't she pay me back for a proportion of the house if she now wants to overturn the agreement that was made? No, that's going to upset the victim here, and you're the damn oppressor. And so again, the agreement was just the agreement they've made. The lawyers and the judge just waved it away, saying no. So she can just arbitrarily decide, I don't want to go to work, and I can overturn any legal agreement that was made, and the judge agrees. Yep, that's right. Hey, you're a victim anyway, so you're an oppressed victim. So your signing an agreement doesn't count. His signing an agreement counts, but yours doesn't. So the judge can say that agreement is worthless, but she doesn't have to give you back the house. She can keep the house. So the agreement's good enough for her for him to have to be fully obligated to meet the terms of the agreement, but she has no obligation to meet the terms of the same agreement. The judge is saying it gives her the house for free. So I mean, work that out if you will. And again, an example of ideological idiocy there. But this guy does apparently, so the lawyers are saying, it was clearly irritating them and annoying them, and the damn bastard's getting away with it type of thing, was that when he received a judgment against that business, Billy Bob's Plumbing, he would just close that business down or close that business name down, and then just start trading again, operating again with another name, which meant they had to then take that to court, that new name to court, and then he would close that one down. So they were thinking it's not worth chasing him anymore, and they wanted a very generous amount of money. So they were at the point where it was so expensive and so time-consuming to keep on chasing him every time he changed the name of the business that they had to negotiate with him and say, look, let's have a meeting here. How much are you prepared to pay? And we'll have to say. So they've told and they were talking about this. They've told the woman, look, we'll have to settle for whatever he's prepared to pay. It's just too much hard work, and he can keep on changing the name of the business, closing one down, starting up. He can do that forever, and there's nothing we can do about it. He has no actual income himself, according to the financials. I mean, he's been buried. He'd have buried it in various ways, but he's got no income himself that we can get hold of. So we're going to have to accept. And the guy had made some offer. Like they wanted, for example, $25 a week, but he offered $7 a week or a month, whatever it was, and they were outraged that he was getting away with it. So I asked the question, well, what has he got away with? He's given her a free house, it's furnished. He's given her a free car. That doesn't matter, he should pay. Make him pay. And it was a very ideological thing, but it's also very personal. They had got attached to this case personally. They were outraged he had dared to defy them and that he was getting away with it. So they were looking at it from ideological, it's almost like a sort of a bureaucrat would look at it rather than a lawyer. They weren't sort of being pragmatic or anything like that. They were looking at it ideologically. She's the victim and entitled to compensation. He's the oppressor. He must pay. He must be made to pay. Crushed. And they've had this very emotional sort of investment in it. And I was thinking, wow, why are you so emotionally invested in this? Why would you give a fuck one way or another? But to them, it was an issue of victims and restorative justice and so on. So I just wanted to cover that because it's insane. You've been a Tasseless today, your Pushback channel, and thank you for listening.